Dear Ambassador Lars-Hjalmar, thank you so much for joining us today at the Symposium for Cultural Diplomacy and Religion. Thank you for your powerful keynote speech. We wanted to ask you a few questions in order to find out your opinion on certain issues. First of all, how do you define cultural diplomacy and how does it influence your work?
Well, cultural diplomacy, I would define it as how we as diplomats, so not only diplomats, but all involved in communication between cultures, how we should work to pave the way for a closer understanding and closer contact between different cultures. So we should try to use the tools we have at our disposal, which are conferences, but which are also more informal dialogues, which are newspaper articles, but which also is expressions of art, as I mentioned in my speech, that literature, art, music are ways in which you pave the way for greater understanding and contact and dialogue between cultures.
Thank you so much. No, I also agree that the civil society has a big role to play currently. So there's, as you said, traditional diplomacy, but also cultural diplomacy, and they should reinforce each other.
They should reinforce each other, and also the traditional diplomacy, you're very focused on a specific issue. You have to draw a border on a territory, or you have to divide the resources, or you have to set a target for how you should avoid global warming or whatever. But the cultural diplomacy, it's much more, you can't measure success in that way, and it's a process that goes on and on and on, and hopefully during the process you become closer and closer, and you reach a higher level of understanding.
Thank you so much. We see how often religion is being instrumentalized and sometimes misused by various leaders for political or economic or other gains. How do you view the role of the church in the field of cultural diplomacy?
Well, right now I think the church is interfering. But the church in cultural diplomacy, that's one of the key players, if I may use such a word. But of course, the Western culture is, whether you're secular or you're religious, you have to admit that the church is central to the creation of the mindset of the whole Western civilization, as it is also to Islamic countries. And so church or religion forms a fundamental part in cultural diplomacy.
Thank you so much.
And speaking of religion, what role does it play for you in terms of in the field of cultural diplomacy?
Well,
in this very addressable field that you have just been mentioning also in our presentation.
Well, actually, if I look at my diplomatic experience so far, religion has not played a very big role, or cultural diplomacy. I've been working with issues that have been really traditionally diplomatic and promoting my country's interest in different fields.
Yes.
Now in this new position I have as ambassador to the Holy See, evidently this will come into to play to a great extent. But basically I'm here as a diplomat. I'm here to listen to what the Holy See has to say about different world situations, like Ukraine, like South Sudan, like Central African Republic, like Syria, to hear their assessments and learn from them, as we have to share with our assessments. On cultural exchange, we work not so much on religious issues, we work with the Vatican Library on cultural projects we have together, but definitely there is, in the background, of course, there is it's a religious element, but most of so far I've been working in a more traditional way, and I guess that will still take most of my time, actually. But I see it as a great opportunity personally to be able to participate in this kind of conferences, because it's an opening up to a field which I will definitely think of how I could integrate that into my daily work.
Well, thank you so much. But you mentioned in your lecture, or in the response you gave afterwards, that you in Sweden use officially the term public diplomacy. As to what I combine mostly of promoting soft power, the potential power of source of attraction, that the kinds of values that are set towards this particular country from the outside looking into Sweden. But when you use this term of public diplomacy, and what the mutual knowledge that you find here in the Holy See, is it able for you to then use in your general strategies of public diplomacy, when you say that you learn here about many topics of opinions as from the Holy See about their opinions, their policies towards Syria, towards South Sudan? Do you then go back and use this knowledge of the policies of the Holy See in the public diplomacy strategies towards other targets?
No, it doesn't really work like that. No, I think the public diplomacy strategies we work out, but of course we are looking at what others are doing and saying. Of course, that's true. And still, the public diplomacy in Sweden is in its infancy. It's something we have started with a few years ago, and it's a way of promoting, as you said, soft power, showing who we are, what values we stand for, and so. And it's also a way of promoting the brand name, and so it has many different meanings to depend on who you ask. But yes, if you. I'm really reluctant to talk in these terms now, but look, the Vatican probably is one of the greatest examples we ever had of cultural and public diplomacy, because their influence is really, talk about soft power influence that goes with the global impact.
Yes.
Of course, we could have much to learn from how you can work from this tiny little piece of land in the middle of Rome, and influence globally. So of course, yes. But they are working. But they have also 2,000-year tradition to build on, and the religious element is strong. And we, as a small Nordic secular country, we cannot really, but we have a lot to learn. Yes.
And you have still almost 1,000 years. But speaking of global impact, you have been working on several foreign missions, and all in all, going back to your core definition of cultural diplomacy, how and during what circumstances has you applied it to your work at these different locations? Your diplomatic
I've done it. Yes, I've done it not in a big scale, but I've done it all the time. All the time I've been personally, and also the people that I've been working with, trying to especially when I got in a position that I was a management position, encourage people to take part of the cultural activities of the country where we were working, and go to exhibitions, listen to the music, try to read the books, try to not just only the newspapers or the parliamentary debates, but try to find out what is behind this. Why do they think like this? What kind of culture is it that conditions them to take a specific position? So yes, I've been doing that. But so this is kind of a cultural diplomacy on the individual basis. But yes, then I of course have also been involved in more public diplomacy projects, but they have as I said, they don't have the same two-way character as the cultural diplomacy has. Huh?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very
so
much.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
It
for your
was a-
time.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.